Can you give us a story about your younger, dumber self? One time when like you just did it the wrong way and maybe you lost, or maybe you felt like crap and you didn't compete well?
Ah, man, that can go all the way back to, you know, freshman year in college was really rough for me.
Yeah.
Really rough. It was like I cut weight in high school a little bit, but I didn't know what cutting weight was.
Hmm.
Right? So, um, I mean, my first time I ever got down to 133 to compete in Gallagher was maybe the roughest, right? Actually, there's that one, right? I was about 6 pounds over. I was coming in to practice. We finished the practice, so I'm about 139, and we're about to wrestle Arizona State. The backstory is Ben Ashmore just transferred from Oklahoma State, so there's like 10 times more emphasis on this match. John's like, you better not, lose to this guy. He just came from the cowboy country, right? So it was a lot more on the line. And Ben was a great wrestler, but I came in, I was 6 pounds, and we had an afternoon practice. And I walked over and I went to the student union. So in our student union, there's like Chick-fil-A, Jamba Juice, all of these like different things, right?
Uh-huh.
And if you have on your student ID is it's called your bursar card. It's basically a credit card for the school.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get some Chick-fil-A. I'll come in 7, 8 over, right? And I didn't know diet or anything. I didn't care. Whatever tasted good, that's the way I was going, right? I got Chick-fil-A, and I'm like, you know what? That was probably not even a pound. Let me get some Jamba Juice. Got a Jamba Juice. And then before you know it, it's like I can't stop eating and drinking, right? So I'm walking to practice, and I already know how much I'm over, so I like suit up. I get dressed before practice. I walk to practice dressed. The only thing I got to put on is my shoes. Right? I get in there, and John is usually, he can look at you, especially me because we wrestled around the same weight class. I walk in, and John's standing next to the scale, and I'm like, oh crap. You know what I mean? Like, turn around, and I try to get out the room, and he's like, Oliver, get in here. Right?
Yeah.
I step on the scale, and I before I step on, I'm like, I broke, John. I broke. He's like, what do you mean you broke? I'm like, I just broke. I couldn't stop eating in the student union. He's like, what? How much? Step on. And I step on with my clothes, and I'm like 16 and a half pounds over.
Oh.
Right?
Mm.
So he's like, strip them down. Strip them down. I'm 14 the day of.
Oh.
So, well, no,
You
the
went
day
from
before, but
16.
it's
Sorry.
right
Go
the day
ahead.
before. So, no, you're fine. And I start cutting weight. And like John cuts practice. He's like, all right, guys, get a drink. And like I turn to go get a drink, and John's like, keep drilling. You keep drilling. So I'm just sitting there repping, repping. Long story short is I come in the next day, I'm 2 pounds over. I lost 12 pounds that practice.
Man.
I get the last two off, but I'm in like full cramps wrestling Ashmore. I literally were wrestling the match. My calves are cramping, my shoulders might be cramps. Um, and man, the first minute of the match, I'm seeing the little dots.
Yep.
I'm like, this ain't good. We're gonna have to figure out a way to win, right? Long story short is I'm losing literally by a point with 10 seconds left and go to take a shot. God forbid we're in Stillwater because he accidentally catches my singlet and boom, technical 1 point and we're in overtime. I'm like, part of me is like, yes, we're in overtime. I have a chance to win this match. The other part of me, 75% of me is like, no,
More
I
wrestling.
still got to finish this. Yes, I still got to finish this match. So we end up going to overtime and I take him down for the win. But
Oh.
immediately I come off the mat and I couldn't even make it like out of the door. I like turn behind the bleachers so nobody can see me and I just start throwing up right in this big trash can. And I'm just sitting there, and John's like, go upstairs so nobody sees you. I'm like, John, I can't make it, coach. I can't make it. I just got my
This
head
is
down.
it. As far as
And
I
it
get.
drug the whole night. Like, I'm literally trying to like put fluids in after the match, and I'm like getting sick. I'm like dry heaving. I'm like, what is wrong? So that was one.